Marketing and selling is essential in your online business. And when you have the right strategies and mindset, you not only can make a lot of money, but you can change a lot of lives. Welcome to the Online Marketing Podcast, where we help course creators, membership owners, and coaches market and sell their offers.
We're your hosts, Paul and Melissa Pruitt. Let's dive in and get started.
Deliver it. Key tips on delivering your challenge launch.
All right, so we filled it. Now we have to actually deliver it. Oh man, this sounds like a lot of work.
This is where, you really, the rubber hits the road. You got to get in there, but can actually be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so some of the tips that we're going to give today, we've been jamming on a little bit in other episodes, but I'm really glad that we're kind of bringing all this together because you did all the work. You put the promotions out there, you filled it, you got those bums in the seats. People are in front of you. You're on that virtual stage. You're about to present. But man, so many things could be done wrong in that moment. And again, we have to set ourselves up for success. Like this is a launch vehicle. So we want to be able to present an offer at the end. And I think the tips we're going to talk about today are really going to help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all about giving your audience a really awesome experience. And again, like you had said, this is a launch vehicle. So again, keeping that in mind that at the end of this delivery, you're going to have an opportunity for your audience to join you on the other side, to go deeper with you, to look into the transformation that you're promising at a deeper level. So it's really key here that you deliver in a way that your audience has an awesome experience and gets them to that end point.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of the first tips that we want to give today. And I have to say, this is a key one that a lot of us need to think about in advance. And what would that be?
Yeah. So one of the key things with our challenges is we see a lot of people that make their challenges super long. And a lot of times it kind of goes, we'll go into this a little bit later on, but it goes hand in hand because you have so much you want to share with your audience. So you spread it out and you have this super duper long challenge. But the challenge with that, and when you have those long challenge launches, is people tend to fall off.
Yeah, you said a lot of challenges there. So, and maybe that went too long.
Maybe that did go a little too long.
So here's the thing, and it proves the point, right? Is if you think about it, when you are launching and when you're delivering your content, naturally what's going to happen, because we're all fighting for attention, right? We're trying to initially get attention, and then we're trying to keep that attention. And when you make your challenge very long, what ends up happening is that people actually slowly fall off over time. Now, you could start off with, 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, like whatever your audience is, like at the beginning. But again, every single step along the way, if you create like a 30-day or 90-day, and we've seen people pull those off. Now, you have to have a really big audience, a really big dedicated audience, very loyal to do those long haul ones. I had to say, do you know what the most successful ones that we've seen?
A lot of times where we see the longer ones have to do with health challenges.
True.
Is where we've seen that with the longer ones. But again, you have to have someone that's really dedicated to it.
True.
And there are people out there that will do that. But what we find is that the shorter challenges, it really makes it just easier for people to go through the process. Because again, people are busy, people are distracted. So if you have a promise of something that they really want to achieve in that short amount of time, they're more likely to go for it.
Yeah. So we ourselves, we do typically like 5-day challenges, 7-day challenges. Yep. We've seen others do upwards of like 9 and 15-day challenges. I have to say, we see a lot of fall off. Yeah. They don't get the results that they want, as they go more. But that's just one of the things that you want to focus on is the length of time is very important. And it might be something that's worth for you yourself personally or your industry or niche that you're in to do some testing on the different lengths itself. Now, that was the first tip. Now, what would be the second tip?
Yeah. So the second thing is that along with that is that the trainings that you do in your challenge need to be digestible. So what that means is we don't want to give them all the things and too many things to focus on each lesson. Because again, people get overwhelmed. And when people get overwhelmed, they kind of check out. So the trainings that you do, again, remember, this is a launch vehicle. So we want to lead them to your offer, but they need to be digestible. It really needs to be easy for them to go through.
Yeah. And just because as a service provider, we might have the time during that challenge, because again, we blocked it out because that's our launch vehicle, right? So it's really important to us. We really have to look at the mirror on the other side. Who are we serving and how much time do they really have? Because that's one of those resources that people have like limited availability. So if you're doing an hour, 2 hours, or something, you're doing these day after day after day, like that's a huge commitment for people. Yeah. The average person out there can't dedicate that much time. And then what ends up happening though, also on top of that, just so you understand, is that when it's that complex during the challenge itself, people then fear your offer because it's like, oh my goodness, if it took this many hours or this much time to consume the content that you provided, like during the launch itself, I can't even imagine how much is inside of your paid thing. Like it's going to be totally overwhelming. So we have to be careful. And I think coming back to, as you said, like keeping the trainings very digestible so that people can actually celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
Which I think brings us to our next key point.
Yeah. So next with that is when you are making these trainings digestible, you also need to make sure that you give your audience quick wins and celebrate their progress. Because again, think about your audience. Think about a day in the life of them. They're probably super busy. They're probably juggling a lot of different things. And when you take them through this challenge process, you want them to actually see progress along the way. You don't want to make it super complicated for them. So by the time you get to your offer, they're just completely overwhelmed and checked out of it. So those quick wins, it needs to be fast. It needs to be accessible to them. You need to make it just super easy for them to get that win and open up their mind to see what is possible. And by doing this, you're going to eliminate any limiting beliefs that they have with purchasing your offer at the end and really show them that they can do this.
Yeah. And again, coming back to that, we have a transformation that you're promising for the challenge itself. And in that idea itself, there is going to be some type of progress, some type of transformation that's going to occur. Now, it's just the first stage of the first step or just some incremental piece because your offer is really going to cover the entire journey for them, right? So if we make it complicated, if we make it too long, if we do too many days, if we do too many hours, if we create a complicated process where a lot of people can't win, because the worst thing in the world that you want to have is have a community during a challenge and then people say, I couldn't do it, I can't do it, this is too complicated.
Yeah, you don't want that.
That would be the reverse social proof that you would want, right? So we need to make sure that everything's digestible, that everything flows really easy, that we keep it simple, right? And with that, people will be able to raise their hand virtually and say yes, because we really want that social proof. We really want that bonding in the community for people to high five virtually each other as they're making those incremental steps along the way. Now, Melissa, I think we might have another tip.
We do. And this is kind of a two-part one that goes hand in hand. So the next thing you want to keep in mind is not to overteach. Because again, and we're going to go into why this is important. Sometimes this is a little bit counterintuitive for people because it's like, wait, shouldn't I be teaching? Should I be sharing? They need to go through this process. But when you overteach, it leads to less conversions. It leads to less sales. And we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about that first because this goes hand in hand with the second piece of this about your actual offer itself.
Yeah. So when we overteach, what ends up happening is we overwhelm. And what ends up happening is when people get too much information during our challenge, remember, it is a launch vehicle. Like people are going through this so that they are made the offer at the end. But when we overteach, people just come away and they're like, wow, I love you. Thank you very much. You're incredible. This is the best training ever. I didn't have to pay a thing or, depending on how you have it set up, very minimal. And then I think I can leave and be satisfied and actually get this true transformation without ever having to pull my wallet out to you. And that's not what we want. And that's not even fair to them as well.
Yeah. So it's really important, again, with the challenge launch, it's a vehicle that's going to lead them to your offer. So now with that, the second part here is when it comes to your offer and it's time to present that offer at the end of your challenge, you don't want that offer to be a surprise for them. You don't want it to be like a surprise birthday party where they're caught off guard. Yeah.
And this is something that we see very common. And it's when we have people that we work with that kind of have this, let me believe, this shift of when I'm launching, there's two parts to it. There's one part, I'm serving, I'm training, I'm giving value. And then there's this other part where all of a sudden I'm switching into a different person that, I'm selling now. This feels dirty. And I feel like I'm taking versus giving. And really selling is serving. Serving is selling. The entire process is a sales process. The entire process is a launch vehicle. And we have to be careful on this because if we set this up and surprise, I have something to offer you, and you really want to be seeding this. You really want to be laying the groundwork and creating awareness throughout the challenge itself that everybody that's going through the challenge experience knows this isn't the entire race. There is something coming. That way they're okay with it. That way they're embracing it. Because all of us we've been in bait and switch situations in life where we thought something was complimentary, free, or minimal. And then we got sold onto something afterwards and we felt really bad and dirty about it, right? We don't want that to happen for our people. So what we need to do is we need to seed, we need to create awareness of the offer that is coming. And there's certain ways, and it's beyond today's lesson, but it's something that there are ways to be able to set that up properly where you're not sabotaging yourself.
Absolutely. Transparency is really great with that. I mean, I know for us, when we do our challenges, we do, it's one of the first things we talk about. Say, hey, you're going to learn some cool things here. And guess what? We're going to share with you at the end of this challenge an opportunity to join us. Like it's very transparent and people really appreciate that.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I would love to show you exactly how we do that by you going through our own challenge that we have that is all about challenges itself as far as doing a challenge launch. Melissa, can you tell everybody about that?
Yes. So we have our Challenge Launch Challenge. You want to go to challengelaunchchallenge.com. And this is exactly where we talk about setting up a challenge that's going to be really successful for you. And we talk about in detail some of the things we've talked about today about how to make those trainings digestible, how to set up your challenge, how to bring the right people into your world through that challenge, and then lead them to your paid offers at the end. So you can go through the challenge. Simply go to challengelaunchchallenge.com, get signed up, and you can get started with setting up your awesome challenge.
Yeah. And you know what? Today's episode was so exciting. We were talking all things about delivering it. And what's really cool, again, just remember, when it comes to your challenge, don't make it too long. People will fall off along the way. You'll have less people you'll be telling about your offer at the end. So be very conscious about that. And while you're delivering it, make sure that your lessons are digestible. Make sure that it's something your consumer, the person you're dealing with. You might have all the time freedom in the world to do your challenge because that's what you're setting up yourself for your own business. But the person you're talking to might not have as much time. So let's make sure that they can actually digest it. And along with that, we want to make sure we are high-fiving, virtually celebrating the wins, celebrating the progress that people are making each and every step of the way throughout the challenge. That's what's going to build the social proof and the momentum so that when you make that offer later on, everything will set up properly. And the thing is speaking about that offer, we don't want to make it a surprise birthday party. We do want to create awareness. So, and along that awareness piece, that's going to be some of your trainings that you're going to be doing. We don't want to overteach people along the way so they're not so overwhelmed that they're not open-minded to an offer where they're not pushing back and saying, hold on, this is so much. I don't even need anything more from you. And that's really where we want to land people, is bring people. The entire process, again, is a launch vehicle. We're bringing people, we're opening their minds, or destroying limiting beliefs, or setting up the opportunity for us to have them enroll into our offer.
Yeah, this was so much great information today. And if you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe to the Online Marketing Podcast, where we talk all things about marketing and selling your offers. And share it with a friend. Let them know that we have these episodes here. We'd love for them to join us to learn the things that we do in our business and make their business successful as well.
Yeah, so until we talk again, remember, don't forget, you're just one step away to becoming an adaptive marketer.
If you would like to work with us and our team to help you snap up more sales and incredible clients with a stellar marketing strategy that works, go to adaptivemembership.com and sign up for our wait list. We have a limited number of spots in our exclusive program to set you up for success and take action. We're waiting for you at adaptivemembership.com.